Thank you. Thank you very much for your invitation. I'm delighted to be here in Budapest. Good point. There you go. Again, thank you very much for the invitation. Delighted to be here at EPAN. Thank you for Carlos Conde for his invitation to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about governance in Mexico, not so much Latin America, though many of the problems are shared in our countries, in the whole region. Governance, providing conditions that make possible democratic governability in a country, in a society. Well, both dimensions, participation and proximity. Participation in the sense of getting the society involved in public policy decisions. In Mexico, we have quite experience with formal democracy now. Elections, free, competitive, but we are still learning about incorporating society into networks, into actual decision-making networks in terms of policy formulation. And also the issue of proximity, to taking this to the local level. In Mexico, we're formally a federal republic, but in practice we're not. The federal government is still very strong in every decision made in the country. So we have those two challenges, the proximity dimension and the participation dimension to improve in our country. You have to say also that political institutions, particularly political parties, are in terrible shape in the eyes of the Mexican society. They have no credibility at all. The democracy has brought many good things, but also confusion and excess of political activity. At least that's how it's perceived in Mexican society. So we went from the authoritarian government to the extreme democracy where nobody seems to agree. Congress, all major political parties are constantly fighting amongst each other. And at the local governments, that's an area where we need to work a lot. They don't have capabilities, they don't have resources, they get resources from the federal government, they don't know how to spend it, then they spend too much, the federal government has to bail them out. It's also a very complex situation in terms of local government. We need to do a lot there in terms of improving governance. So improving governance is critical for all these reforms we need to make in our country. Some of them, the Carlos mentioned, fiscal reform, tax reform, energy sector reform, civil service reform. We don't have a civil service in our country, and effective. The law just went on recently, but it's not really working. Judicial reform, corruption, and also integration. It's true that the NAFTA logic is different from the European Union, but still, I think we're going to go pretty much in the direction of increasingly cooperation, harmonization of policies in North America. So I think there's a lot we can learn of the European experience in this sense. As I said, we have evolved a lot in terms of what some scholars call primary democracy, electoral democracy. We have competitive, free elections. We have an institution, the Federal Electoral Commission, which is very solid, very prestigious. It has done a very good job. So we have democracy is generally accepted among Mexican elites. So we have done a very good job in terms of formal democracy. Where we have some work to do, it's some called secondary democracy, building the consensus, the political consensus, achieving objectives, getting results. Democracy has to offer concrete results in order to gain legitimacy in the Mexican society. So that's where we have to work very hard. And this means an effective, results-oriented public administration. This means civil service. This means better local services, better local government capabilities, qualified personnel, clear goals, a public sector that works in every level, to say it concretely. All this in the middle of a very complex political environment. The constitutional arrangements in Mexico difficult the task of governance. They don't make it easier, they make it harder. Why? Because with democracy, we have divided government. One party controls both houses of Congress. Another party controls the presidency. We have a presidential system. The president used to be very powerful. Now he's very weak. He cannot get any reform through Congress. We have a multi-party system with 3 major political parties that cannot seem to agree in anything at all. So all these reforms we have to complete. Fiscal, energy, civil service are stuck in Congress. They're stalemate in Mexican political system, and this is terrible. We cannot move ahead. We cannot move forward. And in addition to this, you have a very volatile electorate. When you have this kind of electorate, it's very difficult to accountability, to interpret the message of the Mexican public, because there's no core vote for any political party. Well, there is a core vote, but it's very volatile still. So this very complex political environment makes even harder the task of improving governance in our society. So there are several ways where we can learn from the European experience. The actual policy making, how to make reforms work, how to do this in a very complex new democratic system, and how to do this in a society that's very skeptical. It doesn't have any faith in the promise of change offered by politicians. So this is the situation we are confronting in Mexico, in other countries of Latin America as well, and this is where I think the European experience can give us a lot to learn from. Thank you very much.